Hello. Oh, have I got some fun stuff for you today? Very informative, very apropos. This is all from the real deal. There's some great articles that I just want everybody to know. One of them is very, very funny. And it's so funny that I just have to read it to you verbatim with my little spin on it because it was so, it's comical. It's comical how the liberals have, and listen, I don't want to get political, but hey, let's call a spade and a trough a trough. This is one where the liberals just don't know what they're asking for. But most of these things are really, most of the stories that I'm about to read to you are because of the liberal politicians and what they're trying to do to the multifamily owners. All right, so let's start. Here, the first one article comes. It explains Blackstone bets $10 billion on multifamily. Good news for us. But you got to listen to why they're doing it, and it should give you a little vision of the future. Hello, John Racine. Thanks for coming today. Blackstone is making its belief in the multifamily market known, agreeing to its largest acquisition ever in that sector. Blackstone agreed to purchase Apartment Income REIT, AIR Communities, for approximately $10 billion. Wall Street Journal reported that. AIR owns rental housing communities in coastal markets like Boston, LA, and Miami. The Aimco spinoff, it was a spinoff from Aimco. Now, if those of you don't know Aimco, there were two big multifamily owner-operators back in the early 2000s. Aimco was one of them. And if I remember correctly, I think the thing about the Aimco properties, or I might be getting mixed up with the other one, was that they were typically modular construction put on slabs. And that was how they built it. If there's anybody in the audience right now that knows what I'm talking about, please chime on in the chat box. But there were two big owner operators way back in the early 2000s. One of them just had a unique style. I know that because I owned a property and they were right down the street from me. So anyway, the Aimco spinoff last year paid $223 million for a pair of 14-story multifamily buildings in Miami Beach, as well as another $26.9 million for the same property's garage and ground floor retail. Last year they pivoted away from New York City, selling its last two properties in the Big Apple. So they're out. They're going. Let me see. There's one thing I wanted to say in here that I thought was very, very interesting. Yeah, here we go. No. Come on. Okay. And here it is right here. Blackstone is getting more aggressive in the multifamily commercial real estate market, recognizing that the Federal Reserve's many recent interest rate hikes appear to be coming to a close and access to capital is growing easier. All right. Now, I recently read that, about last year, probably because they were, chumming for the upcoming election, that the feds were talking about having 6 interest rate reductions in 2025. That, I heard, has now been changed to 2, which makes you wonder, what do they know about inflation that they're not telling us? And why can't they drop those rates? Probably because inflation is still rearing its ugly head. All right. Now, it just goes to show you, this is a case. Let me just teach you a little lesson here. Whenever the government is trying to add a tax, and they try to add the tax, making it look like, oh, don't worry, it's not going to impact you, we're going after the bad guys. How quickly you soon find out that you're one of the bad guys. And that's what's going on in LA, all right? Because in California, they have a thing called Measure ULA. And what Measure ULA was supposed to be, it's actually a tiered transfer tax on commercial and residential sales above $5 million. Don't worry, it's only going to impact the millionaires and the billionaires. It's not going to impact you and me. Right. Kind of reminds me here in Massachusetts. Well, not I'm in New Hampshire. We're cool. But down in Massachusetts, you've got the government. Let me see. We still have to pay an excise tax on our cars in Massachusetts. But the excise tax was created by the government in order to fund World War II. And that's, I think we won. I think we won that. We won the war, but we lost the peace because we're still paying for it down in Massachusetts. Another one that was always great was that the toll booths on the Mass Pike in Massachusetts, they're only going to be needed until the pike is paid for. Well, guess what happened? The pike got paid for. So what do you think the Pike Authority did? Well, they went out and borrowed more money. Well, now we got to keep the place up. Got to keep those tolls going. Unbelievable. Never trust the government. I'll tell you right now. So what happened here is that there's a lawsuit going on now in LA where this one organization is now suing the government for that Measure ULA, saying, hey, you guys sold it the wrong way. They said Measure ULA was misrepresented to voters, and the organization is called Newcastle Courtyards. They argued in the Ninth Circuit. They misrepresented to voters as taxes that only mansions would be subject to, and real estate millionaires and billionaires would have to pay. The taxes add 4% on sales 5 million and over, and 5.5% on sales 10 million and over. So remember, we heard all this stuff about the millionaire tax and that all the actors are going to be leaving Hollywood. Oh no, it's not just them. And it's worse than you think. The imposition of the tax on gross sales rather than on net profits of real properties sold within LA furtively targeted all types of real estate, not just mansions, including mom and pop apartment buildings, the stores of small neighborhood merchants, and even parking lots, the group said in its brief. But here's the real rub, and this is where it gets bad. Think about this for what I'm about to read and put yourself in the position of some of these owners. Now, if you've been in the real estate business long enough, you know that not everything is profit in this business. There are sometimes you're going to lose some money. And listen to this. The levy disregarded the financial circumstances of the sellers, whether they were not billionaires or even millionaires. They were financially strained, selling under distressed circumstances, selling at a loss, and or lacked sufficient equity to even be able to pay the exorbitant ULA tax. 5%, you're losing your property, you're just trying to get out from underneath the mortgage, and you're going to pay these people 5%. The city originally estimated, the city, I said California, it's actually just the LA, the Measure ULA is just for the city of LA. The city originally estimated the taxes would generate $9 million annually, all of which would be placed into a special fund for affordable housing development and other revenue for tenants. Folks, a year into the measure, the city has collected $181 million, and nothing has been spent on development yet, according to the data from the city controller. Now, here's the interesting legal argument, because remember, this is a multifamily law school, is they took it to federal court. Now, typically, federal court would never hear this case because it's a state tax. And federal court says, we got no jurisdiction over the state taxations. But here's how they're now claiming it. The federal court that dismissed Newcastle's case ruled that because ULA was a tax, it did not have the power to rule on it. Under federal law, lower federal courts cannot rule on state tax measures. Newcastle, however, is arguing that Measure ULA is not a tax that goes towards the general fund of the city. It's a special fund for a special program, Newcastle said in its brief. The city has gotten along without this fund for over 100 years and can continue to do so. I will bring you up to speed on changes to that law and the outcome of that court case as things progress. Okay, now I told you that I have this funny story, and I'm going to read this one verbatim because this one is great. I love the author of this particular article from The Real Deal, and they just got a great sense of humor. I love the way they wrote it. Okay, so a background for those of you that are in Washington D.C. You know that Washington D.C. Has a particular law, and I actually let me see, TOPA. Okay. Well, New York City's implementing the same type of law. I was helping a student buy a property in Washington D.C. and we had to deal with the TOPA law, Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act. This is where if you're selling your property, multifamily property, well, just makes sense. You've got to go and give the tenants the opportunity to buy the property. Well, that just makes sense, right? Because, well, they didn't make an offer beforehand, but well, now that you've got it under contract with someone else, you've now got to jump through some other hurdles in order to sell it. And those people that are potentially your new buyer are the people that are in your building. Okay. This is, I think it was done years ago to try to prevent, condos or co-ops going in there. Yeah. Hey, John, I think it's $25, pal. Look it up. I was researching that the other day too. All right. So listen to this. Tenants seek opportunity to purchase. Landlords are amused. Here we go. As reported by Eric Enquist, landlords in New York City, the ones on social media at least, are a caustic bunch. They seem to be in a perpetual state of discontent. Common subjects of their complaints include socialists, Democrats, the financial state of their buildings, and of course, problem tenants. Occasional landlords need comic relief. The Tenant Opportunity to Purchase Act provides it, even as it worries them. The bill would pause the sale of a multifamily building for several months, to give its renters a chance to bid. The reaction of owners has ranged from, "That's outrageous," to, "Be careful what you wish for." And my personal favorite, "Take my building, please." Many would like their renters to know what it's like to deal with residents, agencies, lenders, and contractors, especially when a building is falling apart, doesn't generate enough rent to be renovated, and has a mortgage coming due. Nobody wants to willingly raise their own rent to pay for repairs. Landlord group leader Jay Martin tweeted last year, "Take a look at the failure rate of HDFCs and their insolvency. If a tenant were to buy a building, it would be good to get experience by working for a building owner or property management company." Brooklyn landlord Chris Athenios told The Real Deal when the bill was introduced in 2020, you have to know so much, not just about finance and underwriting, but about plumbing and electrical. It's not just about collecting rent. For that matter, just collecting rent is no easy task. A month after Athenios spoke, the pandemic slammed the city. Socialists' cancel rent campaign, along with the state's eviction moratorium and rental assist program, persuaded many folks to withhold rent. Well over $1 billion in rent went unpaid just by rent stabilized tenants. Landlords wonder what would tenants come owners would do when the fellow residents began living for free. Would they shell out thousands of dollars for a lawyer and spend 2 years trying to evict Mr. Smith from apartment 4B? What about the Lopez family with the 2 cute little kids in 7F? They haven't paid since last summer. Mr. Smith has been in the building for 20 years, and everyone likes the Lopezes, but the property taxes just went up again, and they're overdue. These would be wrenching decisions for people in Democratic resident-controlled housing, as Brooklyn Assembly member Marcela Matenas Bill calls it. Would the new owners know to pursue former neighbors for arrears? Would they garnish their wages, sell their debt to a collection agency, ding their credit scores for the next 7 years? Reporting a default makes it hard for someone to find another apartment, but deters delinquency. Now, even if residents pay on time, they can plague a building in many other ways. On the top floor, Mrs. Jones, now in her late 80s, left her sink running again, adding $1,500 to the building's water bill. Last time she forgot. The city granted amnesty, but won't do it again. The bill must be paid because the mayor just announced he would cut off water service to delinquents. At least Mrs. Jones didn't flush a dirty towel down the toilet like Mr. Miller did in 6C, getting it stuck so deep that plumbers had to rip open 5C's wall to expose the pipe. The bill came to $10,000. Insurance covered most of it, but then jacked up the premium by 30%. A lot of what goes wrong in a building is not anyone's fault. The thermocouple on the boiler goes bad every year, which kills the pilot light and cuts off the heat, usually on the coldest day of the year. The old landlord's son knew how to replace it. It's an $8 part. But now no one in the building can even diagnose the problem, let alone repair it. Gotta call a plumber. Instead of just installing a new thermocouple in 15 minutes, the plumber and his assistant drain the whole system, fill it back up, and go unit to unit, bleeding all the radiators. The bill comes to $1,600. I think these bills are low, by the way. Next year, they'll do it again. No one scheduled the annual boiler inspection. That's a $500 violation. And when an inspector finally came, he noticed a chimney lacked a cleanout door. That was not an issue until 2022, when the city added that requirement for metal-lined chimneys and buried it in a regulation that few noticed. That'll be $1,800 to Acme Chimney Service. The headaches never end. Sanitation keeps levying fines for sidewalk litter, not to the litter bugs, but to the building. The city's new gas line inspection mandate is a simple check, but under Local Law 152, only a licensed master plumber can perform it. That's $600. Does anyone know what a parapet is? I do. In January, the city imposed, I'm not making this stuff up, guys. This is crazy. This is why we don't do business in these types of places. You got to go find a place where they want you to take care of the properties. Does anyone know what a parapet is? In January, the city imposed a new inspection requirement. And who can file the bed bug form and the property registration with HPD? How about the prevailing wage affidavit? Why must that be notarized? Is anyone in the building a notary? Oh, folks, that's it. That's what it's like to own and operate a property in New York City. And the tenants now want the right of first refusal on the property. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. Oh, all right. This final story is kind of a sad one. I mean, but it's listen, you gotta, I saw that. I've been around long enough. I saw what's been going on in this business. I've talked about this before many times, but Real Deal came out with another article. And I guess it's about this kind of a right-hand protege to Brad Sumrock. His name is Kenny Wolf. I know people that know Mr. Wolf. They have nice things to say about him. But this article, I think, really explains a lot of things that you need to understand so that these things that are happening to Mr. Wolf don't happen to you. It's almost like saying, Kenny Wolf the problems with Kenny Wolf had to do with the state of his birth. And I don't mean that in any slam. What I mean by that is because of the cycles that this real estate has been in, it depends on when you come into this business is going to determine your ultimate overall success. And, He came in after the last crash. I came in before the last crash. I didn't see the last crash coming. I saw this one coming. And we're not done yet. It's not anything like the last one, but it's still, there are certain things that are going on that you, I think everyone should really understand. So let me talk about this now. I'm going to let me read the byline here. The title is, "Has Kenny Wolf pivoted into a new pitfall?" And the byline is, "Syndicator looked to carve a path in office to resi conversion, but a lack of experience could send him in another direction." He's pivoted his career in real estate. He's been doing a whole bunch of things. Good for him. I mean, that's the beauty of this business. But what's happening now is he's tried to pivot to office to residential conversions. Now, folks, I along with my partner, David Peters, we are doing hotel to apartments conversion. Name of our company is Hotels to Homes. Here's my plug. We've got a deal going on right now. If Molly is on the line, if Molly could put the link to the website so you can register to get our private placement memorandum. It's a great deal. The name of our company is Hotels to Homes. We've got a place for you. Thank you, Molly. And we looked, believe me, David Peters is one of the smartest people you'll ever want to know. Very fortunate to have him as a partner in this venture. And he has looked at office to residential conversions. They're not easy. They are not easy. And we've passed on it. We don't even look at these deals because it's just, we don't have to. Hotels to homes conversions are a lot easier. You can, as what we say, they're light lifts. An office conversion is a heavy lift. We're not touching them. But Kenny got himself into a couple of them, and I'm going to read through through some of these things. Okay, so after assembling a sizable apartment portfolio, he stretched into other asset classes, first retail, then home building. And in 2020, the Buzzy Pivot was the office to residential conversions. After his spring 2023 announcement for a North Ave, I think that's 211 North Ave, that's a street, Wolf estimated the makeover would wrap in 16 months. Construction, he told the Dallas Morning News, would kick off that summer. By August, Wolf's project was in foreclosure. In February, the building's keys went back to the bank. His high-flying aspirations came crashing back down to earth, and he became the syndicator's narrative. Two of his rental complexes, one in Oklahoma City and another in Euclid, Ohio, are now in foreclosure proceedings. Now, one of my students has contacted me several times, and just because he had invested in one of Kenny's projects in Oklahoma, and I called him up and I said, I thought, I was helping my student, and he was hoping that it wasn't going to fail. And I said, "Is this Oklahoma City property the one you're talking about?" He goes, "No, that's a different one. It looks like we're going to survive. We've taken it over from Kenny, and we put in a different property manager." Which I'll tell you, that's part of the deal with these syndicators. Listen, he jumps around from thing to thing. It's like, what's the next shiny penny? When you live for acquisition fees, you don't care about the investment. And that's the thing is, on our deal, on our hotel that we're currently raising funds for, we don't make an acquisition fee. We don't get paid until we pay out the investors what they have. We do get a 1% asset management fee upon the advice of our attorney, but no money is made, and we put our money into the deal. So all of the GPs have invested their own private capital into the deal. That's a prerequisite to getting into our deals. So because listen, if you're a real investor, you make your profit when you buy the property. You realize your profit when you sell it. When you're a syndicator getting a big fat acquisition fee, you make your profit at the closing table and you don't care what happens at the sale. You've made your money, you're moving on. And that's what a lot of these guys did. And that's poor form. Even borrowers that paid for rate caps, a hedge against rising rates, have struggled to afford replacements. Rate cap costs are linked to the federal funds rate, but observers in this space frequently cite another driver: the combination of inexperience and hubris. A lot of people, this is a quote that really got to me. Let me just say this one. A lot of people who are in trouble on multifamily syndicated deals were in high school in 2008. Said Levi Benkert, who syndicates industrial deals as CEO of Harbor Capital. Wolf is in his 40s, but this downturn is his first that he's had to work through as a real estate investor. A lot of them, as one syndicators advised, one financing executive advises syndicators, a lot of them were pretty aggressive with assumptions. But Wolf, who did not comment, is among the few bold enough to apply that all-in approach to the notoriously thorny field of office to residential conversions. In January, he claimed to have 12 projects underway. Wow. Those first couple, we were learning a lot. Now we know what we're doing after 12. Oh boy, if you're an investor in the first one, I think we want to hear that particular quote. He said that on an episode of the Real Estate Syndication Show. Three of Wolf's Dallas, and the name of the show was titled Successfully Converting Office Space to Multifamily. 3 of Wolf's Dallas-Fort Worth conversions have now gone back to their lenders. He has been consistently late to pay the loan backed by an Atlanta conversion. Recently, he's weathered LinkedIn attacks by unpaid contractors and a lawsuit by the firm hired to board up broken windows on a now stalled Cleveland project, his first conversion play. Wolf's troubles signal that a healthy dose of hesitancy might have served the syndicator well. All right, let me see if I'm just, let me see. If Wolf's turn to conversions reads as ambitious, it's because it is. It's like turning a car into a boat. The only easy part is they both have engines, said Drockman of Waterford Investments. Drockman said his firm had assessed 3 conversion candidates and found that every time the juice was not worth the squeeze. Price is a big factor. Now, this is really interesting. I'm going to read to you this article, and it's got some great information, great intel on office to residential conversions. Price is a big factor. A recent analysis by Goldman Sachs found that the office buildings would need to trade at about $154 per square foot for projects to pencil out. On some deals, Wolf claims to have paid less than that. Speaking on the Real Estate Syndication Show, if somebody can tell me the Real Estate Syndication Show, who is that? Who runs that show? I don't know if I was on their show or if they were on my show, but the name is familiar and I just can't remember off the top of my head. He said he was buying buildings from anywhere between $40 and $90 per square foot. The capital stack on the property was $13 million loan and a $9 million in equity. That's $22 million all in, which works out to be about $118 per square foot, not far off. But the acquisition cost is just a piece of the puzzle. Many office buildings aren't suited for residential use. This is where we pass on the office to residential conversions. Painter, whose team has analyzed 1,300 office buildings in North America, said 70% were not candidates for conversion. The floor plates might be too big. Occupancy might be too high, or market rents too low for the project to make sense. Folks, these are all the types of things in any type of conversion you've got to look at. We look at it, one of the biggest things, and our investors who come into our deals, that's always the number one question. Whitney Sewell, of course, Whitney Sewell has been on my program. I've been on his program. I knew it sounded familiar. Thanks, John. When we do a conversion, and we're raising private money, it's like the number one question our investors, who are very smart people, all accredited investors, very smart people, it's the number one question that they ask is, where are your projected rents in line with the market? First question. Great question. And that's why we make sure we do this research beforehand. We do market research to make sure that we're doing it right. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Developers facing conversions need to account for unforeseen costs that are typically a non-issue in new construction. They might have had hundreds of different tenants go through a building, each making their own mark on it. That can add up to a lot of confusing and conflicting existing conditions. It's like, if you have an as-built survey, who cares? That thing has been changed so many times. Sometimes you literally don't know what you're going to find behind the walls. The likelihood of unforeseen obstacle calls for contingency budgets, extra cushion to cover added costs. Developers typically tack on 10 to 15% for these types of expenses. It's unclear how much wiggle room Kenny Wolf had on this project, because there's no evidence that he found construction financing. Remember, this property went back to the bank, this big project that he was doing down in Dallas, and they never got financing. Construction financing can be tough to come by. And because conversions are notoriously challenging, big lenders aren't keen on offering loans to developers with little experience. When you start ripping walls, you want to make sure you're lending to a group of individuals that has done this before, group or individuals that have done this before and has the ability to do it. Wolf is a pup compared to other firms in this space. Take Metro Lofs' Nathan Berman, who cracked the code on conversions. Listen to this guy. Listen to what this guy did. And this is fascinating to me. I want to learn more about what this guy's done. Wolf is a pup. Of course, I live right next door to a fire station. Take Metro Lofts' Nathan Berman, who cracked the code on conversions in the late 90s and has transformed 5 million square feet of office space into apartments. Masters of New York development, such as Silverstein Properties, have partnered with Berman to ensure that projects run well. By comparison, one of Wolf's steady partners is the Dallas-based startup Blue Lofs, which is also a syndicator. Blue Lofs brands itself as a conversion specialist on its website, which shows no examples of completed projects. We got 4 completed projects, and we're into our 5th one right now. Co-founder Ike Bams is a broker. I'm not going to get into this part. That was misleading. I didn't like the way the author wrote that. I think they were trying to put a dig at the guy that it wasn't deserving of a dig. It's really like just anyone waking up one day and saying, now we're doing office conversions, and then create a website. Blue Lofs and Wolf have teamed on at least 5 conversions. Blue Lofs and Kenny Wolf have teamed on at least 5 conversions. Downtown Fort Worth's oil and gas building and the Star Telegram building, the former Standard Federal Savings and Loan building, and W.D. Grant building, both in Atlanta, and of course, the Bell in Cleveland. The company said it was raising money for 8 conversions in June 2023. Since the fundraising announcement, the deeds to 2 of the buildings have been returned to the lenders, including the oil and gas building. That building, which adjoins the Star Telegram building, landed in foreclosure this February after the duo defaulted on a $12 million loan. The filing came just about a year after Wolf and Blue Lofs bought it and racked up a handful of defaults. Oh, man, poor Kenny, man, you spread yourself way too thin. It's like you just got to keep chasing the next one to pay off the other one. You got to make each one profitable as quickly as you can before you can even think about the next ones. I'm telling you right now, we have such a great team put together for our program that we're expecting to return the capital to the investors within 18 to 24 months and then move on to the next one. And that's how we're going to be growing our business, is making sure that our investors get what we tell them that they're going to get. Let's see. Williams did not comment on the individual performance of the Dallas-Fort Worth. Okay. So as Wolf's distress mounts, the Bell in Cleveland looks to be his best prospect for a finished project. A sleek website advertises the building's nearly 400 units. They range in shape from traditional rectangular floor plans to units reminiscent of Tetris pieces. Workarounds to accommodate the former AT&T building's single curved space. Folks, that's another problem with these office buildings. You end up getting really weird design layouts. All right. And that's exactly what we're seeing with a lot of these types of properties. The last hurdle for the team, assuming the project opens on schedule, is pulling adequate demand for the building's luxury units. A tough sell depending upon what the city's new top tier units fetch. I'm going to come back to this in just a moment. It only will work in supply constrained markets. Cleveland is still seeing rent growth, signaling that supply lags demand. But Wolf's revamped digs may be asking too much. Rents in downtown Cleveland in January averaged around $1,600 for a one-bedroom and $2,200 for a two-bedroom, according to Rent.com. Wolf and Blue Lofs are asking $1,700 for a one-bedroom shaped like an arrow and $3,100 for a two-bedroom with 3 windows. None of them in the bedrooms. Oh, the Bell is not doing itself any favors in locking in tenants. Its website and the building's social channels claim it's pre-leasing, a status Williams confirmed. But the real deal called, emailed, and sent Instagram DMs to the building's leasing team and reached out to its management company, but was unable to get a clear answer on how to view or lease a unit. It's yet another bad sign for a developer mired in unfortunate events. At the Bell, summer may tell if Wolf can blow through brick or winds up cooked. Oh, that was tough. That was a tough way to end that article. Yeah, but that's, folks, that's let me talk about the market. First off, what we're doing in our properties is we are recycling hotels into multifamily units, predominantly studios, but not all studios. We've got one property under contract that actually it's a hotel with 2 and 3 bedrooms. But one of the things is that we are coming in right at or a little bit below the market, but we're doing this without any government intervention, without any government involvement, not Section 8. These prices are coming in below Section 8 because we can charge that price and still make our numbers. That's when I'm listening to those numbers. They're buying it at a certain square footage. We purchased that one I'm going to talk about this one that we're raising funds for right now. We purchased that property at $42,000 per unit, putting in about $15,000 to $16,000 per unit. A studio in that marketplace will sell for about $120,000 per unit. That's why we're doing these types of conversions. If you want to find out more, go ahead. I'll get, let me just click on it again. You can go and check there, sign it up, register, and you'll be able to watch all of our hotel conversions as we go through them and acquire more properties with success stories. So that's it, folks. I hope that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that. I like giving you the news that I think is the news that will help you. But that's where we're at. That's the state of our market right now. And I talk about Kenny Wolf. I don't want to disparage anybody. Hey, listen, I've been there, man. I don't wish that upon my worst enemy. I just hope he does all right. And you know what? Just sometimes it's actually, you're better off just walking away from some of these properties. That's what I've learned. So, all right, everybody. Hey, today's Tuesday. Oh, I saw the eclipse yesterday. And I mean, I saw the eclipse yesterday. I went, one of my students is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He's a pilot for JetBlue. Calls me up. He says, Charlie, I'm watching this eclipse. I want to go see it. The best place to watch it is in New Hampshire. Best, no clouds. And I'm flying up to New Hampshire. You want to see it with me? I'm like, sure. Okay. I'll come watch, look at it. So that guy had never been to New Hampshire before. Nashua is on the southernmost border. We drove all the way 4 hours north, 4 hours with no traffic, and there was a lot of traffic. 4 hours all the way up just to watch the eclipse for a minute and a half. And then we got back in and came all the way back home. I'm glad I did it. I had a lot of fun, and that's what I love about my students. They're the best people in the world, and as I tell, and I think John Racine knows, it's you're going to only need me for the first 2 deals, and after that, we're just friends, and that shows in events like yesterday. All right, everybody, great to see you all, and we will chat again later. Have a great day.